Today we have Marsha Johnson. Marsha Johnson is a very dear friend of mine who I think is the most awesome human being and so happy to be sharing this time with. She also is very talented and an expert at teaching about joy and how to bring joy into your life. She had a very challenging time period in her life where she had to rely on that, and it was very beneficial. One day we'll have to talk about that. And the other thing is she's an awesome listener, and she listens to spirit really well. And she has developed some great techniques in mediumship. So Marsha, would you please introduce yourself to everybody?
Well, thank you, JoAnne, and hi, everybody. I appreciate everybody coming today. This is exciting to talk about. So I am many things, but I am a court reporter first and foremost. I've been doing that for many, many years, and through the years, I started with doing tarot cards from way back when I was just a youngster. And that's evolved into doing now spirit mediumship, psychic readings, all different kinds of readings, and just communicating with spirit.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great love of mine.
Yes, it is. And it's very beneficial. So one of the things, okay, so I advertise this as the table whisperer because a lot of people are unfamiliar with a type of mediumship called table tipping. And that is something that you do. Could you tell people about that?
I will. So table tipping is a form of physical mediumship, which means it's the spirit will physically move this table. It's different than mental mediumship where you'll have a medium and will channel or get information and we'll just talk about what information they're getting from a loved one. Table tipping is physical mediumship where you sit around, usually a three-legged table is what we use, a wooden table. Everybody sits around the table. We have small tables that will fit one or two. We have a big table that you can fit 10 or 12 around the table.
Mm-hmm.
So spirit, I can go through the whole how we start it, but the general theme of it is spirit comes through and will tap out the alphabet and give you messages, yes, no, or even longer messages. We have a different table that spins, which I happen to love, through and will tap out the alphabet.
Sorry, that was me. I was responding and go ahead. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Day today, I could tell.
That's all right. So I'm trying to think of where I'm at. So
you were talking about it taps the alphabet.
It will tap out an alphabet and, you ask it questions. And I like it. So I do work with a friend of mine as a partner. We do this all the time together, which works out wonderfully. And we started doing a table that spins. So this table, instead of tapping out the alphabet, which can get a little rough, the table with legs can break and the table can move. So ours spins and we didn't know, but it spun and it spins out the alphabet. And you ask it questions. We call it conversation with spirit. And I think that's why I was so drawn to it, because you have a conversation. So if I were with you, JoAnne, and we were sitting at a table and I got, your dad on the table, you could then say, Dad's here, and JoAnne, what do you want to say to Dad? And you can ask questions and he'll answer. So it's really it's so personal. It's a wonderful, instead of just getting somebody telling you what they're getting, you can ask questions.
Yes. Well, let's go back a minute. How did you get started in table tipping? What brought you to that form?
So at one point, I was taking classes in all kinds of mediumship and anything I could get my hands on. And I saw this class on facilitating table. I had never even heard of the table. I didn't know what it was. So I called up my friend and I said, let's go. She said, okay. So she was always game for everything and I was too. So we went to this class and it was teaching us how to do table tipping. And I remember the first time the table moved. So you're a channel, right? The energy is going through you onto your hands and the table is moving. And we were looking under the table. We look at each other and say, are you doing that? No, I'm not. Are you doing that? So we took this class.
Yeah.
And that weekend we went out and bought every table we could buy. We built the car with, it had to be wooden three-leg table.
Uh-huh.
So we bought our tables. We couldn't even fit in the car. It was so awesome. We were like on our laps, and we get home and we sat at the table, and we sat there for 20 minutes, and we just had our hands on the table, and it wasn't moving. We were waiting for it to tip because we had learned with the tipper. So it's a 3-leg, so it will go up on one and then go back down for A, up on one, back down for B, and when it stopped, it would be the letter. Well, we didn't even know, but our table was a spinner, like a Lazy Susan. They're called old Victorian tea tables. So how it was in the old Victorian days, they would put tea on this big round table, and it was called a pie crust too because the edges are all scalloped. And then if you're sitting across from me and you want tea, I would just turn the table over to you, and you'd get your tea and you'd turn it back. So they called Victorian tea tables. So all of a sudden, our table moved, and we had no idea it was spinning. It was the most exciting moment of, we were just like, oh, wow. So we figured out, it took a long time to figure out what we were doing, how it was working. But I'm just trying to think of how we got together. So we started doing this, and we'd do it sporadically. We would get together maybe once a month, once every couple months, and try it. And it was okay, but it was never great. It was good. And then we made a commitment to Spirit, and that's when Spirit shows up, right? So we knew, Spirit knew that usually on Fridays we were doing it, Thursday or Friday, one day during the week. And we made a commitment to Spirit. We're going to be there every week. And when we committed to that, Spirit committed to us. And it took off. Every time we met, it just got better and better and better.
I think you said something really important that, I hope people can really get, because when we commit, we're taking that step forward. That's when Spirit says, okay, I'm going to commit to you, because Spirit's always around us, right? It's always around us. But we don't always trust or ask for the help. So that's what you were doing, is you were asking for help, and Spirit said, okay, let's play. Let's go.
That's right. We were asking for help, and at that time, it evolved so much from the very beginning to just a little, tiny little messages.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you. So now our table will walk. It walks. I can't believe it. It walks across the room. It will tip up. It will hug. It will squeak out words. We have this one table. We have two in particular that we use. One, it looks like a jigsaw puzzle. We call it the puzzle table. And that's small. We can fit, a few people around it. And that's generally the one we use. The bigger one, which is extremely heavy. And that one will actually, when that one goes up on one leg, Spirit is, you can't even believe when it just lifts up. It feels light as a feather. And Spirit is giving, a hug to whoever it's going towards. So the first time, like I said, it evolved.
Yeah.
And the table actually chased my father across the room. And he was running, we're running, and we couldn't believe it. And it walks, and it goes to, it gives so much love and energy that you can feel it. And the person who needs it the most, it goes right to, and you can feel Spirit it right through that piece of table.
Yeah. Well, let's go back again. Because I know that I learned about table tipping through you, and I absolutely love it. And we've done it together many times. And I didn't just pick up a table and start doing it. So what do people know about if they want to get into table tipping? What would be your suggestion?
Okay. So all of our tables have come through antique stores. Or yard sales, but mostly antique stores and things like that. We have a lot of tables, ranging from little to enormous.
Uh-huh.
They're all spinners. We have a couple tilters that we use occasionally, but we like the spinners.
Please find me a spinner, please.
I will.
I
I
haven't
will.
found a spinner yet. Okay, go ahead. Sorry. And
They are
find
the best.
me.
I will. Okay. So the one thing that you want to do is we always clean the table. We use sea salt and water, and it's always cleansed. Every time when we do a table session, we do the same thing every time. I don't want to say it's a ritual because it's not really a ritual, but it's something
Just
that we
make sure that you have everything clean and all the energies that are negative are
everything's
gone.
clean.
Right.
We sage the room.
Mm-hmm.
We have oil, frankincense, and myrrh that we put on our wrists. We do a beautiful meditation every time. A couple of times, it's funny because we work with Merlin, Ascended Master, who comes down and facilitates the table with us. And sometimes we get like, oh, we don't feel like doing the meditation tonight. Let's skip it. Well, we can't skip it. Table won't work. So we do these things every single time. So that's really important. And I think the key is to make an appointment with Spirit and let them know you're going to be there. And you're serious about it because this is not a game. It's not fun and games, something to do when you're drinking with your friends and having a glass of wine and say, hey, let's do a table. It is serious business.
Oh, I'm hearing that the video stopped again. Hold on. It's not going to be technical problem day. I put that out there and it's not. Let me see what happened. Let me make sure. I don't know if we want to go off and go live again or if we want to just keep going, which we can.
I don't know what you see, but mine says live on Facebook.
Maybe it was hers. I'm looking to see if mine is live. I'm sorry, you guys. This is okay. We're just going to keep going.
Okay.
I have the recording, so I can put it on there anyway if it did stop. But this happened the last time where it stopped halfway, and then I had to put the recording on because we lost half of it.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So you make an appointment with Spirit, which is so important. And the other thing is to not just go into it like it's a game, because you want to be careful and make sure your vibration is a level high enough that you're bringing in the right kind of spirits, right?
Exactly, always. And so like I said, we do the beautiful meditation and then we ask Spirit to come in. And a lot of times when we do an event, we might say tonight we're going to we usually will have the table walk to everybody. That's a pretty great thing. What color does Spirit see you as? That's pretty cool. And, and everybody always gets a different color. And what does the color mean? Or we'll ask Spirit, how do they see you? What's your spiritual strength? You might be, your spiritual strength is compassion. And then they'll give a little talk about it. And then that person can ask. We'll do spirit guides, like an animal totem. Like, what's your animal totem that's with you today? I have a funny story about that because this is just amazing how Spirit works.
Okay.
So this woman got a bat.
Yes.
And she didn't want a bat. She was like, a bat? I don't want a bat. So we said, well, all right. We read about a bat. I forget what it said, but it was nice. But we gave her another animal. She's like, she insisted I wanted to have something else besides a bat. I said, okay. When she left, it was dark. It was 10 o'clock at night. And we go outside. We're walking her to her car. And what comes flying but a bat buzzed us all right then and there. We're like, you were meant to have that bat. So,
and that was a lesson for her to not argue with Spirit about what they're trying to teach her.
You trust. You take what they give you, and regardless. So then the table, we do this every single time. It's the same thing. And then, after the table, we'll walk and we'll give everybody a hug. We then go to a bigger table for all of us and we'll have a loved one come in. And that's when it is beyond special. It's it is so healing. You to see these people, like they're almost hugging the table because their loved one, a son or a daughter, a mother, a husband, anybody will come through and they can feel it. And they'll always get a message from their loved one.
Aww.
It's so, like, I have goosebumps now just thinking about it. It's just amazing.
I want to put in, we did go off, and so I'm sorry, I was a little distracted there because I went back on and kind of rebooted things. And so it looks like we're back on, but if you guys missed part of it, I'll put the whole thing, the full version of this on the Facebook as well. So I'm sorry for the hiccup. I don't know what happened, but it did. Okay. So what's very important, well, first of all, I don't know how much of this you can go into, but what is the history of how this started, the table tipping thing? Wow. Or the use of the table for mediumship? How did that start? Do you know?
I don't know when it started, and that's my friend Beth is the expert on the history of table. Okay. But I do know, I don't know when it started, what year it started, but back in the Victorian era is when it started, and that's what people at that time did for entertainment. Mm-hmm. So you would come over, and people in the neighborhood, everybody would have their own table. And, I would say, JoAnne, how's your table tonight? And you'd say, mine's great. And tell me about you. And then ask about my table. So, and that's how it came about. And then it, went out of favor for a little while. And a lot of people still don't know about it. They're afraid of it.
Mm-hmm. Why do you think they're afraid of it?
People are afraid. They're afraid, similar to like a Ouija board. They think it's like a Ouija board, which even a Ouija board, we take every precaution. We call in Archangel Michael. We call in the angels and God and to be with us, the white light. We don't allow any negative spirits. It's never happened to us because.
Well, that's a good point, because Merlin is your guide. Merlin is the one who's directing and guiding anyone who comes through that doorway. And you have a pact with Merlin that you only work with the highest light, right? So that's a big part of it as well.
And that is part of, you set your intention. Mm-hmm. And our intention is set at the beginning that we only work with the highest of the high and the best. And we are only going to get messages of love and healing that people need to hear. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what we get. And it's such a beautiful thing.
Well, you've had you've had cool experience where you get a new table and the new table will do something to the original table. Can you talk about that? I love that story.
I know. Well, actually the old table, so we'll have a new table that would be set up in the room, and we're using only one, obviously, the old table. And the table will walk over to the new table and tip into it. Mm-hmm. It's like giving it, its energy, welcoming it to our tribe of tables. And I think it's just giving it energy and welcoming it. And then we're using that table as well.
Well, it's almost like you've started this with the respect of working with because the table itself is not moving. Yeah. The table itself is a tool of spirit to use. And someone did ask, why would you only use a wooden table versus a metal table? Although I have seen metal tables used or tables that have metal in it, but the most preferred would be a wooden table.
Exactly. I've used a plastic table before. I've used a square plastic table with four legs. I didn't really care for that. It's the 3-leg. I think is easier for the tapping or tilting. If it's going to tilt back and forth, you go up on one. But it's just I don't know why wood has always been our way. And I like the old. Like, you should see our tables are beat up. They have stains and cracks. They've been places. They have stories. The wood holds the energy.
That's what I was going to say. Wood is a better conductor. Metal isn't. But on the other hand, I've actually seen people use all metal tables. But I think it has also to do with the fact that the wood is a part of the elements and it's a natural form, and so it has a higher vibration than metal would. Although metal's an element too, so I take that back. Forget that whole thing. Wood just seems like it's more. It would resonate at a higher vibration.
Right, and you know, this is how we do it. Everybody is going to find their own way that is going to resonate with them. And, you know, when we started, we do it different now than when we first started doing it. You know, things, they evolve. You find things that work and things that don't. But the key that we found that works is our commitment to working with spirit. And, you know, we take whatever, you know, table has to say to us. And, we've had, it sounds a little crazy to say this, but I always say it's not a good night unless somebody cries. And normally, and meaning because they have been touched.
Right.
And I'm usually the one crying. You know, it is just amazing what you can feel. And you have the camaraderie of, so you have to picture, we're having a table event, and it's nice if we have a family come in, right? And, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 family members, and they all know each other and they're talking to each other. But sometimes we'll do an event and you may come by yourself and somebody else may come with a friend, and we might have 6 people who don't know each other. And you're having a conversation with a loved one, and we're saying, JoAnne, what do you want to say to your dad? And, you know, and I'm like, well, yeah, in front of all your friends, you know, you have this personal conversation. So sometimes it gets a little difficult, you know, and you know, you'll get messages, but usually it'll be something that you will understand.
Yes.
It will be a personal message to you, and they might say, you know, thank you for taking care of me, and just different things. And the love. I have to tell you a story. We had this woman on the table, and her son had passed. And when this was the first time, we have the big table, the first time that it actually squeaked out.
Wow.
It squeaked out, Mama. Like,
wow.
Now just thinking about that, because, you know, I forget, he said his name, and forgive me, but I can't remember his name. But I remember that so vividly, because it just, and it was trying to get our attention. It was the first time it had done it. And it kept, we were asking it to spell something, and it would just go, and we were like, well, what is that? So a lot of times that goes on. You have to, you're like a detective. You have to figure out what happened. And it spelled out Mama.
Oh.
Like, and that woman, you know, she put her head down on that table and hugged that table. You can feel the love and the healing that happened for her. That it was the most beautiful thing.
So why do you think that this is such a healing process for people on this side, to connect that way with people on the other side?
It's because you can actually feel the energy. You can feel when one spirit comes in and somebody's gone. The table might feel heavy. The table all of a sudden feels light. And so you can tell when somebody's there, and you can. So it brings in a lot of other mediumship. So qualities, right?
Right.
You can smell. You might smell roses from your grandmother. That was her favorite flower. You can see like a mist that will come by, or you can feel. You physically feel the different things, and you can smell, and it's so healing. It's like you're with that person one more time.
You know, it's thank you, Marilyn. You've asked a lot of questions. I'm trying to get them in, but sometimes it's hard. It isn't spooky. Like so we've had a couple times where people were uptight or nervous about it. But I would say that it depends on what kind of energy you bring into it, right? And what would make, like, we had an experience where you felt the change of the energy, and you knew that another spirit had come in. How do you regulate and help people, or talk to people that feel like, I've talked to several that are like, I won't do it, it's evil, it's bad. I mean, they do put it in the same category as the Ouija board, but the Ouija board, one, wasn't made for that. The Ouija board had a different purpose when it was made, but you can also use anything for evil or good, right? So what would you say to people that are really afraid of using that kind of mediumship?
I don't know how to explain it. I am not afraid, because I think what we do when we start, we have such a connection to spirit, and we set our intention that there's nothing bad that's going to happen. There is nothing bad. And you know, when we start with our beautiful meditation, we call in spirit, who we have a deep, deep connection to. I trust Merlin. I trust spirit to be with me and to guide me, and my angels. That room is full. The room is so full. You can hear knocks and you can see spirit lights, and I know we are divinely protected.
Well, I think that you kind of said it too, because I really want to point this out, because I know both of us have experienced that kind of mentality several times. And I think that, for one, you mentioned about how you're very in tune with how spirit feels, right? So you know yourself, you know your higher self and your spirit, you know Merlin's energy, and you feel it, because darkness and evil has a different feel to it, right? So isn't that a part of it too, that I mean, when something shifts, you're aware of it pretty quickly.
But when it shifts, it's shifting another wonderful spirit. That's what I'm saying. When we feel it come in, because so if I ever get 6 people at the table, everybody gets a message. Everybody talks to somebody. So we can't spend 2 hours talking to your dad, JoAnne, and then maybe your uncle comes in, and your grandma, and then everybody else is going, well, this is fun for you.
Or my first husband's father.
Exactly. Things like that happen.
You're like,
you're like, oh, did I really want to talk to you?
No.
So,
sorry.
But we'll say, we'll ask you, we ask spirit to stay in the room with us, stay here, let somebody else come on.
Yeah.
And at the end, we always disconnect. So we are allowing spirit to use us, right? To use our body and our energy to move that table, to give us messages, talk to us.
So talk a little bit about that, because we've talked about a lot of it, right? But we didn't really talk about how it works. You have a table, and you do all of the preparations for the event to start.
Right.
But everybody either sits or stands with their hand on the table. It's not that you're putting your hand weighting down on the table. You're lightly touching it, just doing what? What is that for?
Just your fingertips. Little fingertips. It's just to get the energy. And some people don't even put their whole hand on it. Their hand might be this much, just like over it, slightly, not even touching it. And then the table will move. It's the energy coming through us that is moving that table. And so to say, towards the end, when we're finished too, we cut those cords and we say, we're done. Spirit's going home. You're not coming home with us. It's just, we cut the energy, and it's done. And it's amazing how spirit does listen to you, because we set a time limit of 2 hours. And if we go over 2 hours, the table stops. It will not go. We set. So I think the most important thing is your intention.
Yeah.
That you're setting of what you want this evening to be like. We're going to do this. We're going to talk to so-and-so. We're going to give messages. We might talk to angels. We might just say, who's your angel? One thing we do is past life, which is pretty phenomenal, and everybody will.
That one work. I haven't done a past life. Explain.
Okay, so we all want to do a past life. So we will start. We just did this the other night. It takes time, because that's a lot of information, and we'll say, we want to learn about a past life of JoAnne. Can you give us a year that she was alive? And say it's going to be, 1898.
Okay.
Well, we can't go the 1898, right? That'll take forever. So we cut it short. We'll say, was it in the 1800s? Yes or no? Was it in the 1900s? Yes or no? Then we go, what decade was it? You know, was it in the teens? Was it in the 20s? And we go through that. We get the year. We
Uh-huh.
get the country. We'll ask, what were you?
Uh-huh.
Osama, were you a princess? Were you, so one thing I believe
Yeah.
that we have all been connected in a past life,
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I'm with you.
right? And so people that we're with, and one night we all did it as friends. It was just a friend thing. And we all found out, so I'm in Boston area, right? Salem, Massachusetts, that we were all in the Salem witch era. And
Uh-huh.
it's funny that we looked at, I forget the name of the street, but we looked up the street, we found the street. And
Oh, my.
so it's really, there's so many different things that you can
Uh-huh.
do with it.
Yeah, yeah. And it answers you. I mean, okay, so one of the things you triggered me on is it does answer by spelling things out,
Right.
by raising and lowering, like it'll stop on the letter that you are saying is right. Or
Right.
you can answer a yes or a no. It can show you what a yes or no is. But the other extremely important part of it is that you don't have to spell out every word of every sentence. Can you talk about that? Because that would take forever. So how does
We'll
that
be
work?
there forever, right? So that's where your mediumship skills come in.
Mm-hmm.
So when Beth does it with me, she hears spirit in her ear. I
Uh-huh.
know things, so she's got the clear audience. I have the clear cognizance.
Uh-huh.
So you'll just know.
Uh-huh.
Or and as a matter of fact, if you were doing it with me and I started spelling out a name, you're going to know, and you can feel them. And
Right.
so then we cut it short. Is this, Joe? Yeah, it is.
Uh-huh.
And then
Yeah.
we move on from there because we want to get the message, right? We want to
Uh-huh.
get, what do they have to say to you,
Uh-huh.
which is very important. One thing I have to tell you, this is a
What?
new thing. So I told you how it's always changing with us, right? Everything we do.
Yeah.
So we started seeing hands on
Uh-huh.
our table. And this probably happened, I don't know, a few months ago, not even a year ago, maybe 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it was like, are you seeing that? Because I'm seeing that. And you could see spirit hands on that table. And if you're clairvoyant,
Mm-hmm.
you can see them.
Uh-huh.
And it's also, we get a little vortex of energy in the center of
Ah.
the table.
Uh-huh.
So you can see that. It's like the table will stop, but you can see the energy. It's almost like a mist.
Uh-huh.
So, like I said, the more we do it,
Uh-huh.
the more spirit is giving to us.
Right. It's true. And that goes with anything that we do. The more that we put into something, anything in life, then
Right.
the more we're going to get back from it. And this is the same way. And you
That's
also
exactly.
learn, I mean, I think a myth that a lot of people have is that if I do this, I'm all of a sudden going to open this whole world up. And we know now that it doesn't work that way. Spirit knows how to take us through the progression of learning and understanding and getting the information that's
Yes.
right for us at the right time, right? I bet you must see that a lot at the table.
Oh, all the time. And a funny thing is, so we also teach a workshop
Mm-hmm.
on how to facilitate your own table, right?
Mm-hmm.
People get a little frustrated and they don't realize that we've been doing this for years and years and years.
Yeah.
And then you get somebody who gets a table and they just want it to work right now, but so you have to, we would sit and have tea with the table. So we're just, and I would, when we first started, I would sit with the table.
Yeah.
Maybe start off with 10 minutes because you feel funny sitting there for
Yeah.
a long time. But, it's a natural, it's a progression. It's just like a ballerina, right?
Right.
You got to start to become the prima ballerina. It's the same thing with tables. You have to take it slow.
So what do you think are some myths about table tipping?
A myth. Well, people think that you move it. You have no idea. People think that they'll look underneath it. Do you have a motor under there?
Now, would you say that almost everybody, their first time looks under that table?
I have to figure out a way to get a camera. Because I love the look on the faces, like when it actually moves. And I think the biggest myth is that it's dangerous. Well, I guess it's not really a myth. It's dangerous if you don't treat it right.
Exactly. So we've had conversations with people that feel that it's dangerous, period.
Right.
And then there's some people that go into it. Like, okay, so one of the things I wanted to make sure we brought up, and this is a good time, is when you're doing any kind of mediumship, I feel, especially table tipping, and I know we both agree on this, that alcohol is not a good idea because you're lowering your vibration on that, right? Do you want to talk about that?
Absolutely. So we have, no spirits with spirit. If you want to have a drink, you can have a drink after you're all done. But I never, ever, I am in the purest form when we're doing table. That is so very important. We have water.
Because you want to make sure that you want to have your senses about you on target, exactly. Right? Yeah. And everybody else should too, because just because you're the expert at medium or at table tipping and I'm coming to see you doesn't mean that I can't feel something's off. Because even when you go into any kind of situation like that, you should always follow your gut. Always. Your gut. So when you start putting alcohol in the mix of all that, you're totally deadening all of those emotions and that sharpness and.
Oh, absolutely. I did, at one time, I did a party where there was drinking. And I will never do it again. It was pretty bad. It was bad for us, because then it became more of a game for people. And like I said, it is probably one of the most healing things that it's not a fun, it's fun to do it, to talk to your loved ones, but it's not a game.
What do you call that? I love it when you say that. It's not a what? A parlor.
It's not a parlor game?
Yeah. It's not a parlor game.
No, it's not. This is serious business, Yeah. And it's just like any form of mediumship, or even card reading. Would you go to a card reading and be drinking while you're doing it? You just can't.
That's a really good point. Now that I think about it, I don't know that I've ever known anybody who goes drinking to get a card reading, but somehow people think that table tipping is a good, like going to play pool or something.
Right. No, it's not. It's serious business, and it really is. Like I said, I think the most important thing for me is the healing that I see happen with other people.
Can you talk about some of the most impressionable, like serious healing that you've seen?
I think the most, it's funny because when I do it, so as you know, my brother passed away. And my brother has come on that table. And for me, I just can't even get over it. I'm like, oh my God. And I don't even know what to say to him. And that, before we get into the most healing thing, right, that reminds me, when you're doing table, right? So if I have my brother there, it's like, oh, I don't know what to say. So many people, they don't know what to say. Your mind just goes totally blank.
Yeah.
Like, totally, like if you said, JoAnne, your dad's here, what do you want to say to him?
We've had those situations, haven't we?
Yeah, so that happens a lot. But no matter what, I think just the feeling that he's there,
right?
You feel his energy, and you feel like you're actually with that person one more time. And so many times, I remember one woman. She asked a private question. We didn't know what it was, and he said he was proud. And she said she was asking him because he had never said, she was never sure that he was proud of her. So at this time, he came to the table, and he, they'll just spell out a word. It's not going to be, I am proud of you.
Right.
It's like proud, and then, your mediumship skills come in. But that was so she just broke down and cried because all those years, and she just wanted her dad to be proud of her.
Right.
And that's the type of thing that you just know it's just phenomenal when you see that.
What are the common questions that people have for their loved ones on the other side? I'm sure you must see a pattern of typical.
No, the pattern is, I don't know what to ask you.
Okay.
Really. But I would say
so let me ask you really fast. I'm sorry. This is really interesting because I know you do mediumship, platform mediumship. If you want to talk to Marsha, you could call her and she would do mediumship for you. But you also do table tipping, which is another form. Like we said, it's physical.
Right.
Do you find that the same thing happens when you're doing a mediumship face to face with somebody and the table's not there, that they're not sure what to ask, or is the table somehow?
Well, you're really, when you're doing a different, the platform mediumship, people aren't asking questions.
Oh, that's true. They're getting
right
evidence and then a message comes through.
Exactly.
It's not like I have this last thing to tell you or
right. Exactly. You. Spirit gives them a message. Okay. And that's why, we call it conversation with spirit, because you can have a conversation. I guess one thing most people ask is if somebody else is with them. If my brother were there, I'd say, Louis, is Bobby with you?
Yeah.
Is so with you? Yeah. What are you doing up there? And that's that's such a common thing. What do you do? Are you dancing? Are you having fun? The key, I guess the big thing is that there's no more pain. If somebody was sick, if somebody had any kind of physical ailments, it's gone. And that makes people here so happy.
Yeah.
That's big. That's one of the big things.
How about mental issues? Is that our mental issues? If you were here with mental issues,
I think so. I kind of think of that coming up.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know if people know, it's an interesting topic, but that when they come back in physical form, and they usually come back when they felt their best. Like,
right.
Exactly. I'm awesome at 35. I'm going to show up as 35-year-old.
I'm coming back as 28. That was my favorite. So yeah, when you look good, you feel good. It was a good time in your life. That's if, I think when people are presenting themselves for mental mediumship, right? So we don't really get physical descriptions with table.
You're that's true. You're totally working on energy.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you can as you're sitting there, because like I said, it's particularly fun if you're doing a table tipping with a bunch of mediums and everybody can see and hear and, different things like that. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, for just the general public to come in, they're just talking with their people.
I know in my area, table tipping is not very popular. It's really hard for me to find people that do it. But if you were looking for this kind of mediumship, how would somebody go about doing that, do you think? Or what would somebody look for in somebody who does it?
Look for to find someone who does it? Or
well, if they did find somebody, what would they look for in that person to make sure that they have the right qualifications to do table?
So I don't know a lot of people who do it either out here. It's getting a little bit popular, but there's not a lot of people who do it. But it's the same thing I would look for if you're looking for somebody who does tarot card readings or oracle card readings or any kind of a mediumship reading for you. People have to have integrity. And that's what you want to look for is you've heard all the people who do readings and say, oh, you have a curse, and for another $500, I'll take that curse off you. So, it's the same type of thing, right? You need somebody with integrity. Everything with us really is word of mouth, or, we go to a center and we do table tipping.
Mm-hmm.
People know that we go there.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really word of mouth. I think it's probably like anything.
So I think the main thing is to make sure that they have a good reputation. Again, follow your gut in the decision making, but also make sure that they have integrity and a background and know what they're doing, and they're not doing it in a bar.
No, listen. If they say table tipping and mimosas, you can skip it.
Yeah, exactly. That's not for you.
Exactly.
Oh, I love doing it. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to say too that we have actually done is it is possible to do table tipping on the internet.
It is possible.
Someone's table will work and somebody's table will not, but it is possible to do that.
It was possible. It does feel a little different, but we could do it. So I guess it's kind of like doing a reading.
Yeah.
Right? A reading online.
Yeah.
Same type of thing. But I recall, JoAnne, when we did it, the table walked over. I think you were, I don't know if you were on the computer or an iPad.
You were, yeah.
But the table walked right over to the iPad.
Yeah.
To, give because we have a thing, everybody gets a hug first thing. So when we do, and it's so true. So I have to tell this funny story. So Merlin really has a sense of humor.
Uh-huh.
So he will always, 100% of the time, give Beth a hug. He'll walk around to the different people.
Yeah.
And he'll always give Beth a hug, right?
Yeah.
And I don't get one. I don't get one.
No.
I don't get one to the very end. I mean, it's always like, it's kind of funny because it turned into this thing. I was like, well, what about me? And then I'd walk over to somebody else. And so it's a funny thing that we have this little thing going on with us that, so Spirit has such a sense of humor.
Uh-huh.
It's just phenomenal. So I have another thing to tell you. So when we do table, we have people sit in a semicircle, right?
Uh-huh.
And we'll sit in the middle. We don't know where the table's going. It might go in a line, which not really, doesn't happen often. But it might go to the fourth person, then back to number one. Mm-hmm. So it has started going through everybody, and then there's one person on the end. It walks behind the person next to them to get to the last person. So we were like, what's happening here? But that's why what I'm telling you, like every time you do it, something new is happening. So it's just such a sense of humor. We have such a good relationship with me, Beth, and Merlin. And it's total trust in each other.
I could sense that people may be wondering what the heck you're talking about when you say the table walks. And it is an amazing thing to actually see a three-legged table walk. Can you kind of explain to them what that is like to see a table walk around a room?
I know. It sounds funny, right?
It does.
So the table's on three legs. It goes up on one, and then sometimes it spins a little bit, and it lands on the other two. And then it goes back up on the opposite leg, and it will spin a little, so it will just kind of rotate and move by itself.
It is an amazing thing to watch.
It is an
amazing
amazing
it's almost like when you have like a 300-pound table, and you're kind of like, how you kind of jostle it to get it to move? It's almost like that, but it's light. It's like a feather that just kind of does it in a dance. That's the thing that's the most amazing, is that when the table moves, it's almost like poetic. It's very graceful.
And it's so light, and especially when we get that big, we have one table, it is heavy. And when that one, that Spirit is loving on you when that one goes up, because it's so heavy, and it does not hug everyone. Not everyone gets it, but usually somebody who is in need of some spiritual healing, that table will just, it lifts up on one. I still can't believe it when I say it, because it's so pretty, and it lifts up. It's light as a feather. And it's just giving, and the person can feel that energy. I
Yeah.
think that's the key to table tipping that I love, is you feel that person.
You
feel
really
them.
do. And it could bring you to tears because you know what's happening. It's not a question of, is this true or not? It's the
No.
truth. You know what's happening.
Right.
What is the biggest group that you would do a table tipping with?
Well, we have a big table
Yeah.
that well, I'll give you the general. Okay. So most of the time we have 6 people,
Mhm.
7, including Beth and me. So
Mhm.
we've got 9 people maybe at the table.
Mhm. Wow.
We can do more if we're not going to give loved ones messages, but maybe we're just going to give them a color, like a demonstration of, like,
Mhm.
this is how table works. Not everybody's going to get a message.
Mhm.
You can do, like, I think we've done 25 people as
Wow.
just a demonstration. So not everybody will get a
Right.
message. But as a matter of fact, we are going to practice that because we're going to Lilydale, New York in August.
Wow.
And there might be a lot of people there. So we are going to figure out, how are we going to give messages to everybody?
Yeah.
Is the table going to walk to somebody and give them a message? Are we going to have somebody come up to the table and sit with us if we say, Joe is here, and typical gallery, right? If you've seen
Yeah.
platform
Right.
mediumship,
Right.
similar to that. So we're going to see how many we can
Oh,
do, but I think it's time to do more, because it's when we just have 6 people, I mean, it's beautiful,
yeah.
but you want to touch so many people.
Right. Right. And it's like when you go to a platform mediumship, they don't talk to everybody, but usually there's a message for somebody out of that. So I would see the same thing being true.
Yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. So we're going to.
So do you think that one person can do a table tipping by themselves? What do you feel about that? Should somebody be afraid to start doing it or doing it by themselves?
Well, I wouldn't recommend doing it by yourself. I mean, you can, but so the energy that you have, right, you're going to bring with 2 people is
Mhm.
going to, like I said, when we started doing it, we did it together all the time.
Mhm.
And you get energy. The collective energy really helps it to move.
Mhm.
So, to be honest, I can do it by myself. I don't particularly care to do it by myself. I would like to communicate with spirit in a different way.
That's so much work.
It's a lot of work, but I like it to show people that spirit
Right.
is there. That's why I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's well, like you said, it's physical. So it's like tangible. Somebody can see and feel at the same time that this is my brother Louis. You know what I
Right.
mean? So yeah, I can see that.
And it's interesting too. If you watch a video of it,
Mhm.
it's not the same, because people, oh, you're pushing it, all these things, right? But it's when you actually feel it.
Yeah.
That's when it's undeniable. It's
Mhm.
so, you feel the energy, you feel the table move.
Mhm.
There is nothing, in my opinion, better than that, because I have
Mhm.
seen too much healing going on to know that this is important.
Mhm.
It really is good.
And I think mediumship in general, any way you do it, is a positive thing. But everybody reacts to things differently and accepts things differently. So,
Right.
like if I'm giving you a mediumship reading for your uncle, I could be making anything up. It wouldn't resonate with you, though. That's a whole other side of it. But the point is
Exactly.
that it's still arbitrary, where the
Right.
table is very physical.
Right. And it's so, one time, and I can't remember the details, right? But
Yeah.
so, spelling out CC. And so we're thinking, this is a mistake. What
Yeah.
is CC? And we said, come on, try it again and do it. And it kept coming back to the same thing. And we just had no idea what it meant. Well, I think it was somebody's cat was named
Oh,
Cece. And finally somebody popped up and said, well, that's what it is.
Okay.
So in another time, you think, like I said, you're making it up. So we had PA,
Uh-huh.
and we're like, what is that? Papa. So we said, does anybody have a papa here? No, nobody has papa. And we're like, okay, so we're wrong.
Yeah,
Of course, we're wrong. And so we said, well, try
exactly.
this again. And it kept doing papa.
Uh-huh.
And we were like, well, sure nobody has a papa? Nobody has a papa. So we said, well, we're sorry, Spirit. We have to move on because nobody's claiming you and we don't know a papa.
Uh,
So about, I don't know, a little while later, this woman pops up. She goes, oh my, Papa is my grandpa. That's what we called him. As a matter of fact, I have two papas. But it's similar to when it's a mediumship demonstration, like on platform, right? People
yeah,
get amnesia. You
yeah,
forget things. And then, later on you say like, oh yeah, that's what that was.
yeah.
So
Well,
yeah,
I
that
just had that happen. I don't know if it's always amnesia, but like, like I said, my father-in-law from my first husband came through with all of these like things that I just had no idea, right? And it was like, I don't know this person. But the medium wouldn't stop, right? She just kept on going with questions and okay, and well, it may be this and maybe that. We're trying to put all this stuff together.
right.
And it wasn't working. And she's like, nope, I'm sticking with what I know to be true. Until finally he said his name and said his name in fishing. I was like, oh, I know who it was. So sometimes there are people so far removed that
That's
are
right.
still watching over you. And he had a message that he wanted to give to me, which was
Mm-hmm.
very interesting. So that's, I think, a part of what happens too, because I don't have a lot of people in my close circle that have passed away, thankfully. I have a
Right.
few, but not a whole lot. And so I'm getting all these other people now that are coming in that I've forgotten about or, I
Right.
haven't thought about in over 50 years or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, that happens so often. Like
Uh-huh.
people want, their immediate person, right?
Uh-huh.
And then they might get a second cousin or the next door neighbor. And they
Uh-huh.
want to talk to the next door neighbor.
Uh-huh.
But always the next door neighbor has something nice to say.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really is. And a lot of times as well, the next door neighbor might come in, but they might be bringing somebody else in, like
Oh, yeah.
a mother-in-law might be bringing in your father because the mother-in-law came first and then the
Mhm.
father comes along next. So you never know
There's
who's going
usually a reason for who comes in. It's not just, they don't just come by because they have nothing to do.
to exactly.
They have something they want you to know or something that they're trying to mend or heal or whatever. So there's a reason of that
Yes.
particular. And that's, I think, sometimes like I was just talking to somebody who did a mediumship and a reading. And so the way that it worked out is this one lady had gone and she really wanted to connect with a part of her family. But her cousin or somebody who came with her had just lost somebody younger and it was just devastated about it and really wanted to connect with that soul that had passed. And her whole family got together and made sure that that soul went to the boy who needed that, which was just an amazing experience to see. Even in the spiritual world, they're going to do what's for our best and highest good.
That's right. And they all work together,
Because
you
I think
know.
people get frustrated when they go to mediumships and they're like, or platform mediumship, and they're like, why do I never get a reading?
I know. Yeah, you know what? And that's why, well, I mean, because we keep it small, right? We have 6
Yeah.
people. Everybody gets a reading.
It's really a beautiful, it's a beautiful thing to do it. It really is beautiful. It's probably one of the more beautiful things I've ever experienced.
Yeah, I agree. I love it so much. It's funny when you don't do it for a while. And as soon
Mm-hmm.
as I sit down and you feel the comfort of
Mm-hmm.
just those spirit world, wants everybody to be happy, wants everybody to experience that love. And when we do it, I can't get enough of it. It's
Right,
just
right.
so beautiful.
And you're very in demand for it as well.
Well, we are we're getting well known. It's something to experience. It really is amazing.
Yeah.
I think because it's just, you can't believe it. You can't believe what you see.
Well,
It's just
like you said, it's not very popular now either. It is somewhat growing. Like here, I found one person here that I wouldn't have done it with. Other than that, I haven't found anybody who does it here in this area. And it's frustrating for me. I want a table tip here.
You've got to get out and, I don't know, put the sign out.
I've been putting out to the universe, but it isn't as well known. I've talked to a lot of people who have never even heard of it, but it is something that is becoming more known.
I never knew either, and I just took that leap of faith to take this class. I'm like, never heard of it. Let's go see what it's about. It was, the curiosity. What is that? And when I did it, I was just amazed. And it was just, it's such I just love it. I love it because I love the conversation that you can have.
Yeah. And, people, if you have questions about this form of mediumship, please put in the chat and ask, because Marsha will be able to answer them. And she really is very good at it. And she's done it for a long time. And she knows what she's doing. And she's experienced all kinds of awesome experiences through it. So don't be afraid of it. I think it's something that can really be a healing, and you've seen the healing in people that, and
so much
seen it, how it really heals people. I
think
it heals people. We don't, there's such a conflict of the other side, and what do we believe and what do we know? And when you get that validation that only your loved one would be able to give to you, then it helps you. It gives you encouragement and peace.
It gives you peace to know. I think the most thing is when people have passed in either a traumatic way or a painful way, to know that they're okay.
Yeah.
Or to know that somebody who's wheelchair bound is up dancing.
Right.
How great is that? It's a really sense of peace.
Yes. It really, it just gives me the chills. It really has been. Yeah. And there's a lot of controversy out there. So there's controversy out there.
I know this controversy. I know.
But from our experience and the way that we keep in the light, it has been a beautiful experience.
Absolutely beautiful.
And you do other forms of mediumship. So if anybody wants to connect with you on that level, you are available. And you also do card readings. And you're awesome at it.
Thank you.
Get right to the point. You hold nothing back. You are great at it.
I'm a little blunt, I think, but
no, you're not blunt in a bad way. You're in a good and
not a bad way. No, this is how I look at
people look at blunt as bad. So
yeah, okay. So
maybe we can rephrase I get to the point, or okay. So go ahead with what you're saying. I'm sorry.
So what I like about doing a reading is to help you help yourself, right?
Yes.
To help spirit help you help yourself.
Yes. And that is important for people to know. Say that again, because you don't go to somebody for a reading to give you an answer you don't take responsibility for. Say it again.
That's right. So a reading is for spirit to help you help yourself.
Yeah.
Because, am I going to get married next year? Well, there's there's free will involved. There's other people involved. Exactly. You cannot predict. The energy at the moment is what's happening and how you deal with it. And, it's just going to not drop on your lap. You have to go for the opportunities that are presented to you.
And take responsibility for what's in your life, because you can say the energy right now shows me everybody is in this picture at this time willing to go that way. Right. You may wake up tomorrow and decide you may not want to. So what are you going to do? And I would say, listen to that.
Yes, that's the key, is to listen. I have so many experiences where I would not listen. And then when I finally listen, and it's always good. I do a reading for myself every day.
Yeah.
I journal, and it's fun to look back and say like, it was right. I did need to listen to this because it helps you stay on what is the highest and best for you, right? At that moment. How to live. You know, you can take the long, hard road, or you can take the easy road.
Yes,
That's what it's helping you with.
Favorite saying. I always told my kids that when they grew up. You have two choices: the hard road or the easy road. You get to choose. Either way, you're going to get to the end. Which way do you want to get there?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. Yeah, you brought up a subject. I mean, we could go all through this. There's so many things about it. Card reading but taking responsibility is the key right now that we're talking about, and going into the victimhood is not a good idea, because things happen in our lives for a reason, for us to take responsibility for our life. And it's when we don't do that we have the problems. And then we have to go to people like you who tell us what to do when we know what to do.
Exactly. And the thing is, you know, you may be presented with an opportunity where, you know, if you say, and you pick the cards and say, you know, that's a good opportunity, why don't you take advantage of that?
Yeah.
But then maybe you don't. I'm a good one for it. Maybe I don't. And I'm always
we're all that way. We're all that way. We don't know, and we're afraid. That now we're going to go into the afraid conversation. That's
right. But this is the conversation that we're going to all remember is trust. Right? You're going to trust that this is the right way to go. It's for your highest and best, and trust that things are going to be a-okay.
Yeah, it is in the end. Yes. Absolutely. And again, I have in the description how to get a hold of you, and I will put in the chat again how to get a hold of you. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to put it in there. I know this is a big subject. It's not well known, so you may have a lot of questions about it, but we will answer whatever questions we can.
And you know what? One thing everybody can do is on Facebook is Conversation with Spirit.
Oh, yes.
Look that up. There, I think there is even some videos that you might have a look.
Okay. Yeah, it would be great. Yeah. I want to thank everybody for being with us. We've had a great time. I thank you so much for being with us, Marsha. You have been a great guest. Thank you for telling us all about table tipping and sharing your experiences with us.
Oh, thank you, JoAnne, for having me and giving me the opportunity, because it's something that I love, and the hour flew by so fast. So
didn't it?
Thank everybody. Yeah, it did.
And we will have Marsha back, because like I said, she is an expert in how to bring joy back into your life, and teaches a class on bringing joy back into your life, because I think sometimes we get so burdened with our day-to-day stuff, and we could forget what joy is all about. And if you have a grateful and a joyful attitude, then life goes so much better, and
more comes.
Yes, exactly.
The more you have, the more it comes to you.
Yeah.
Like attracts like, so that's what happens.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. And thank you, everybody, again, who is going to watch the replay of this. Again, on that, also put your comments in, and we will talk to you again next time.
Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.